we did this exact same thing last year. So yeah, it is housekeeping, and then if it's just normal way to do that by statute, we have to reappropriate those funds that were a little bit off.
Cool. All right.
And then I have one more staff report. Alex, you want to come up and tell us about a little snow event we had a couple weeks ago?
Yeah. Yeah. Why did you do that to us?
What can I say? It was a big storm. You know, all the predictions were correct, and then some. Yeah. I think at high tide we had 6 or 7 shelters open to a varying degree. Two overnight shelters at Frontier High School and here at the fairgrounds. Total number of people that we sheltered was just north of 400 people. No fatalities. We had a couple injuries to some road and bridge crews just in the nature of doing their business and the incredible conditions. Overall, it was a success. Thank God we had Pam from ECHO over here, who is preparing to serve about 75 Team Rubicon folks here that we're going to do wildfire mitigation projects in Gamble Oaks and Saddlewood. They weren't able to show up, so Pam had all this food, and she was just a flurry of activity cooking for the road and bridge guys, sheriff's deputies that were stranded here, and then all the people that were sheltering here. But it was some long hours, but everybody banded together, and I think we came out pretty good on the other end. Yeah. Any questions for me?
Like I said, I understand you guys held a kind of an after-action review with fire departments and other first responders.
Yeah, we had
good feedback. I mean, I know we on all of these, you know, there's a lot of preparation and a lot of luck, and you know, we tried. We had
close to 30 people at the after-action review last Wednesday, from CDOT to Colorado State Patrol, all the fire districts, road and bridge, and captured a lot. Probably the biggest takeaway was we're still trying to figure out how it happened, but Douglas County is able to upload their local county road status into Google, which then gets dispersed to all the navigation apps. So as they closed I-25, all of those people that were just transiting through our area got diverted off of I-25, and instead of splitting it 50-50, all of those people got diverted into Elbert County to then, you know, blindly make their way to wherever they were going, and our number of rescues quadrupled, if not more, just because people were just blindly following their navigation apps. And so we're currently working on, you know, how do we get our local, you know, road closures, you know, into those navigation apps so that they, you know, bypass us just like they bypass Douglas County. That really put us behind the 8 ball, just having that massive amount of additional traffic coming down our county roads. People didn't know and weren't using sort of common sense, thinking if I-25 is closed, then, you know, local county roads are definitely going to be even worse.
But yeah, I appreciate their faith in us, but yeah, Rory had talked to me yesterday. I guess he's been talking with their road and bridge, and I think they're getting close to, I mean, having that procedure down for us as well, and that will be good. So, yeah, you would think if interstates were closed and state highways were closed, that perhaps city streets and county roads were probably affected too. But,
just a lot of people not heeding the warnings that were probably going out easily for the previous 3 to 4 days of this is going to be a bad one, stay home, please stay home. And people, you know, were insisting to go out and do their local errands and didn't take it under advisement. And I mean,
yeah, and I know we had made I think the appropriate decision early that we'd close no later than noon that day, but it got the staff in, so they were available for that event too. So,
Commissioners, I just want to also, Alex doesn't quite give himself enough credit. That EOC was very important to the storm, and Alex did a nice job in coordinating. you know, our our emergency management leadership is one deep, and so having him there, I know he only took an hour and a half nap during the whole thing. I took my stuff over there and spent the night and slept a couple hours, and it was nice having the sheriff and the undersheriff sitting there helping with rescue coordination and going out on rescues. It was extremely beneficial to have Colorado State Patrol sitting with us all night long, trying to coordinate some of the CDOT resources. Just trying to get the National Guard down here from Watkins was a challenge, and that took above and beyond effort to try to get them down. We had a snowcat team come from Gilpin County, Alex, I think, was that right? And getting them in here, we had to plow the road and get semis out of the way and go around semis that were stranded just to get them down to Kiowa, to where we needed those resources. We worked very closely with all the surrounding counties and Douglas County Dispatch, but we also had Road and Bridge sitting there with us, which was extremely useful as we started dedicating some of those resources out to fire districts, and I know Rattlesnake had a snowplow with them that carried them to every rescue in order to get those people out. We had local citizens rescuing people, as you know, off of 86 that we couldn't get to after 3 attempts. And you know, there was a lot of good stories out of this. Safeway, I called them and said, hey, you know, we've got people in your parking lot, and she said, send them inside, you know, and we'll keep them all night because I can't send my staff home anyway. So Safeway was great on that. Our shelter managers were fantastic, but the thing I learned most from this storm was when the state sent us 3 additional people to man the EOC after we'd been there 24 hours to see how those few extra heads really did allow us to dedicate our time more on the management instead of the doing. So Boulder County sent 3 emergency managers to come, junior emergency managers, I'll call them for lack of a better term, to help out, and a PIO, and I'm not sure exactly where I think she was from Colorado State Patrol.
She was from State
EOC.
Homeland Security.
Yeah, yeah. So having those additional resources in a storm like this was extremely beneficial. So as part of our after action, and in addition to the lessons learned that from all the different teams, we're taking a better look on how we manage these big storms internally. Here's a perfect example. When we were having our after action report, Douglas County Dispatch said, yeah, we called all 24 of our dispatchers and had them come spend the night, Tuesday night, so that we could have them all here handy. It's like, and then she said, maybe you could send 1 or 2 of your people over here to Douglas County to be live coordination. I said, we don't have 1 or 2 people to send you. It's either going to be me or Alex, and we've got other things to do. Why don't you send 1 or 2 of your Douglas people over here to sit with us? And she said, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So we're going to figure out how to do it even better in the future.
Cool.
But Alex, thank you very much.
I'd just like to say, we as commissioners thank every one of you guys for your unselfish dedication to the county, and it's truly appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Grant's statement and everything, and I realize sometimes the conditions that everybody works on, because I know when I was on the fire department, I responded to a medical after the storm was over on like a 12-mile snowmobile trip. It was pretty interesting going out in those conditions and stuff, so I understand some of the stuff that everyone went through, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd echo that as well. It's just Colorado weather's, I think we were a year and a week beyond the Forest Ridge fire. The last time we activated the shelters in the EOC, so from fires to floods to blizzards can all happen at the same time of year. I know Rory was putting together kind of a overview of their operations and the costs, I think, for the next meeting. Or Kyrie, did you have some?
Sorry, Rory's out ill today. We do have a slideshow presentation ready to bring to your next board meeting. Okay. A couple reasons for holding off and not doing that today. A lot of our guys are on spring break, and spending some much needed time with their families this week. And Rory really wants as many of those guys up here as he can. So we'll have that slideshow for you next meeting. A couple things that came out of the hot wash after the storm that we're already working on. We're sourcing some grants to get some arms on our main roads, county line specifically. So those will be actual arms that they can take out at the beginning of the season and we can remove at the end of the season. So they're sourcing those right now. We have also been in touch with the State Land Board and have permission from them to put snow fence along the north side of 194. We're also working with Arapahoe County because it is on their side. But we plan to put 400 plus rolls of snow fence along that stretch of 194, as well as some mitigation to the banks. So they've given us permission to work in the right-of-way and do some work up there to alleviate some of that drifting.
Yeah, there's some little canyons there that I know were overfilled.
Yes. So a couple things that we're already working on, but we will have that slide presentation with a lot of our stats from Road and Bridge.
Okay. Yeah, the one thing, you know, a year and a half ago or so, we established the contingency funds.
Yes, sir.
For events such as this. So
yes, sir.
As we get kind of our handle around what were the expenses that were during the declared emergency.
And I'll tell you, we were actually pleasantly surprised at the grand total. We actually anticipated much more. But still a big number for a storm.
We don't need to be cutting into ongoing planned maintenance or construction.
Yeah.
We've got that money. If we'll try to rebuild that account, but
yes, sir.
Looks like it's much less than we set aside, which is good.
Yes.
And commissioners, we'll bring a more detailed financial report at the next meeting too. Kyrie's got her Road and Bridge have their numbers. Sheriff's Office gave me a wag. Alex is pulling together some other little costs. We need to coordinate and make sure that
we're not double.
What Douglas County or the state may or may not reimburse. So we're going to take a look at some of those things too.
All right.
So
thanks. Anything else?
Eileen, I think you were going to add something to this.
From the other side of the room. Eileen Croth, Deputy County Manager. As Kyrie mentioned, we have a lot of employees who are regrouping and getting some rest and out with their families, and then we have a busy season coming up, but we do plan to have some sort of an event involving the members of the community that participated, employees from law enforcement and from Road and Bridge, and all of the people who came together to work on this. We'll have some sort of an appreciation event after snow season ends, and there's no more plowing to be done, but before construction season kicks up seriously. So
does that mean you have to wait till July?
I think that means that we will never have it, because there's always something going on. But staff is working on that, and we'll have some more information coming your way before too long.
I appreciate that, because I mean, I like the Forest Ridge fire. It's just amazing to see everybody come together in this county when something needs to happen.
Well, I will say that after a long career in public service and then only 3 weeks here in Albert before the storm blew in, I was very, very impressed with the dedication of all of the employees here. It's a real community feeling, and we're grateful that nobody was hurt. Seriously, we did have a few injuries during the storm, but it was a blessing that nothing worse happened, and I think that we'll be able to make some real improvements about our response as a result of the important feedback.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, before we close out, I mean, just speaking with Rory yesterday, there was kind of one story that he told that kind of just shows how deadly this could have been. I mean, we had contracted a few folks that had loaders to clear some of the bigger drifts. There was a gentleman out the following day that had been working with his loader clearing an extremely deep drift, had taken 3 big scoops out, taken them off, dropped them, come back to get the next one, and saw a headlight shining back at him through the snowbank, and there was a gentleman that had been sitting in his car for over 24 hours with about 6 feet of snow on top of it. So luckily it was enough to insulate him so he didn't have to run his car. But and we've had storms in the past, not like this, where people have gone off the road, gotten drifted in, and they weren't found for several days later. So the fact that there were no deaths and really no serious injuries either amongst the traveling population or our own folks is amazing. So we are certainly blessed. Okay, but thanks. Any other staff topics? Or, no, thank you. To hear from you at this point. Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed. Discussion items. First item we have up is the IT project plan. I guess Sam and Jen, I guess, or Sam.
I'm going to kick it off, and Jen may jump in as necessary. So one of the things that we've been wanting to do since we got here was take an overall look at where we are now and where we need to be going in the future. And I know that we have, as we become more and more dependent upon IT in every aspect of county operations, whether it's GIS data, whether it's communications, whether it's getting the website and social media, it's demanding more and more resources. So one of the things that we did, just like we did with the facilities project, was start to try to scope this out. So the IT technology project plan that you have, or the draft technology project plan that you have as an addendum to the staff report is our for the coming year, just as facilities is, and we are going to be taking a look at a lot of different pieces of this puzzle and putting them all together and coming up with a better approach. We hoped to planning for meeting all the user needs with internal and external to the county, and providing information to the citizens in a great manner. Jen, anything you wanted to add to that? Okay.
No, I don't have any questions. Just a comment is, when it comes to IT, one of your commissioners is pretty illiterate, so I'm looking forward to the outcome of this study because it'll help educate me and also so it may reduce some interdepartmental issues that are out there.
We're looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, I think it's just another example of things that we need to keep moving forward on. That we haven't done anything like this in the past, and it's time to do the strategic planning and everything that we've been talking about and make sure we get it done.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, I know when you took the position, we had a network that couldn't even send an email that wasn't blacklisted, and people were having to use Gmail. And
we had no antivirus back then.
So
we've come a long ways, but we've got a long ways to go.
Come a long way, and I know as we grow as a county, I mean, just the efficiencies that come with really being able to leverage IT versus adding more and more employees. I mean, you can't ramp up at the same level, and I think this is going to be a big cost saver for taxpayers over the long run to make sure it's right and supportive of us. So thanks. Any public comment on this discussion item? Okay, seeing none. The next item we have is library board appointments.
We did receive the next letter for library board appointments, which is part of the package, and that's, I guess, anybody from the library board want to speak?
Yeah. Hey, Rick. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're revisiting this issue from a month ago. Mr. Krennic is here today. Ms. Lampman had a work meeting today and couldn't be here. And then we've asked for the reappointment of 3 board members. I just realized I forgot to identify myself for the record. I'm Rick Brown, acting president of the library board of trustees. We also have 3 reappointments we've recommended: Jill Duvall, Paula Wilderman, and myself. I've provided you with a list of a summary of when each of these seats would be up for reappointment. If you'd like, for the benefit of the public, the bound of the new members and the contributions made by the returning board members.
Yeah, if you would.
Okay, appreciate it. I'll begin with the 2 new board members. We've recommended Patty Lampman to fill out the term of our former board president, Susan St. Vincent, who resigned last November. Ms. St. Vincent's term would have expired in January of 2020, so Ms. Lampman would need to be reappointed or replaced in January, after January of next year. Ms. Lampman has a master's degree in communications and conflict resolution. She's been employed by Lockheed Martin for 25 years, working for the past 10 years as a technical project lead. Software programs to support benefits, performance, talent, and learning. She supervises a team of 4, but specific projects require her to manage and coordinate with personnel across the enterprise. Her position also requires her to manage budgets for technical projects ranging in size from $500,000 to $2.5 million. She's previously served, she's an Air Force veteran, having served in 20 years in active and reserve status. Her last assignment with the Air Force was at Peterson Air Force Base, where she was assigned to liaison between active duty forces and reserve personnel. In this role, she counseled reservists and their families regarding their rights and benefits and drafted headquarters policies and procedures. In addition, in terms of nonprofit experience, for the past 5 years, she's been involved with a nonprofit known as Res Dog Rescue, an organization dedicated to the rescue, transport, and adoption of animals from the Four Corners region. She's currently the outreach and event coordinator for the group and serves as a foster coordinator, mentoring new fosters who foster homes for dogs, rescue dogs who volunteer with the organization. She also fosters dogs herself, acting as an advocate for those animals in her care by ensuring they are spayed and neutered and receive appropriate veterinary care. Her experience with IT and HR issues, her familiarity with budget management and networking and relationship skills required in the various positions and activities I've described make her lead us to believe that she can make valuable contributions to the work of the Board of Trustees. The second new member or prospective member is Alan Krennic, who I've indicated is here today and can answer any questions if you have them. He is retired, but he has a lifetime of construction-related experience. He would be replacing Suzanne O'Neill, who is still on the board but plans to resign effective with ratification of a replacement. So this would be a full term that would expire in January 2021. As I indicated, he has a lifetime of construction-related experience. For 8 years, he worked designing low-cost homes for the Farmers Home Administration. For 15 years, he worked for a company which contracted with insurance companies who were making repairs to policy holders' residential and commercial property damaged by fire, water, or other covered occurrences. What his job there was to write bids and supervise repair crews. He also worked for 15 years doing warranty work on new homes for builders. In the nonprofit realm, Mr. Krennic has been president or past president of 3 different kennel clubs. I have to say the dog-related experience of these applicants is purely coincidental, but he He has been the president or past president of 3 different kennel clubs, including the largest in Colorado. He's been a show chair for very large shows, including for several years with the Rocky Mountain Cluster Show, which hosts 4,000 dogs, generates $400,000 in entry fees, and is one of the largest in the nation. He has also recently joined the Library Foundation Board, and if ratified, would be one of the 2 Pines and Plains trustees sitting on that board. I know Commissioner Thayer is familiar with the foundation, but for those who aren't, this is it's common for library districts to have affiliated foundations that engage in fundraising, and we have one of those. There's one of those in Elbert County as well. Mr. Krennic's construction background, we believe, would be helpful to the Board of Trustees. We're facing design and remodeling at the Kiowa branch related to compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, and we're also looking at remodeling and expansion of the Elizabeth branch to expand the meeting space into what are now administrative offices, and possibly and then moving. So those are the two new incumbents recommended for reappointment, as I've indicated before, myself, Jill Duvall, and Paula Wilderman. I'll start, and Ms. Duvall is here today and would also be available to answer questions. I'll start with Ms. Wilderman. Under the IGA governmental agreement between the county and the library district, we were required and certainly eager to give you the rationale for these reappointments by setting forth the contributions they've made. Ms. Wilderman took over Commissioner Thayer's seat when he was elected to his current position. Her role was essential in shaping our 2019 to 2023 strategic plan. She's actively participated as a director on the foundation board, and she's also been very active in our fundraising efforts. One of which, by the way, is coming up on April 6th when we have the wine and whiskey tasting in the Elizabeth Library, and we hope you all attend and maybe participate in the silent auction. She's also with the Budget Committee in 2018, and she's been actively involved in our efforts to revise policies, formulate strategies, and draft reports for the BoCC and for others. Jill Duvall has been our secretary. Our secretary-treasurer, and the treasurer part of that is the most significant, from 2015 to 2019, during which time she checked and assisted in providing financial information to the board on a monthly basis. Her role, she's been on the Budget Committee from 2015 through 2018. She's been very active in raising funds for Friends of the Friends group in the Elizabeth branch. As you may know, each library branch has a community friends group that participates in fundraising and provides input into the operations of their local branches. She was a member of the trustee candidate interview panel this year, and her insights and contributions to our strategic planning goals, both in our 2015 strategic planning process and in 2018, have been very significant. As for myself, I feel a little awkward tooting my own horn, but I'll review what was in the original letter of recommendation. Strategic planning and execution throughout my first term. I was vice president of the Board of Trustees in 2016, 2017, 2018, and have been serving as acting president in 2019, pending the annual meeting to choose new officers, which actually takes place this evening.
Oh, okay.
I was a member of the Budget Committee in 2018 and also in 2017. I've been involved in negotiating with the town of Elizabeth over site plans for the back portion of the Elizabeth Library building, and also with exploratory discussions with Elizabeth Parks and Recreation, who is interested in that building. Unfortunately, neither of the prospective leases we had there worked out because of the upgrade requirements for the building that for the back portion of the building that the town would require that were pretty expensive. You know, and in that regard, I should state that that building, our presence in that building, was a function of decisions made before any of the current board members were on the board. That said, I think it's worked out pretty good as a facility for the library. I've been involved in advising the board with respect to the drafting and redrafting of policies, and also in rewriting bylaws for each of model bylaws for the Friends groups. And I think that's all I'll say about myself.
Okay.
So.
If I may, are the Friends groups, is that synonymous with the foundation, or are those, those are separate as well?
They're separate volunteer organizations that in each, and they have some involvement with the foundation, but they're not. They're separate entities.
So this is more volunteer.
Right. Exactly.
Than
And the most in Elizabeth, for example, it's the Friend groups that puts on the annual tea.
Thank you for that. I think we will put this to action at our next meeting. But do you have any?
I just got one question. As I understand the appointments policy, it's really pursuant to the agreed to IGA.
Correct. Correct.
I don't think I have anything at this time.
Yeah, I spoke with Mr. Crenshaw earlier today, and I've had some brief conversations with Patty after town hall meetings and whatnot. But if they're amenable, I'd like to just kind of sit down with each of them prior to our next meeting, if we can fit into the schedule. And I'm happy anytime with Patty,
and we can deal directly. Ms. Lamon's not here. I can have her ask her to contact you.
If you could, and I'll happily work around her schedule.
Okay. Okay.
We've had a bit of a rough patch, and I'd just like to get to know the folks that we're voting on a little bit.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, just another comment, and really it doesn't have anything to do with the appointments. One of the things is the inter-county relationships between towns and the county, the library and the county, and some other fire. I want to encourage the library board and Sam to kind of figure out a way to reduce some of the tensions that have a historical aspect to them.
Well, I think that's a good idea, and I hope we've gotten past that, all of that. I think the IGA is a big help in doing that. The intergovernmental agreement is a big help to doing that. One thing I could suggest is for each or all or any of you, and for Sam, to come to one of our meetings. And if you'd like to set up something more formal, we can certainly do that. Just let us know how you'd like to approach it.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with Grant's comment, but we're here for the citizens, so we need to make sure that's what we're concentrating on, what's good for the citizens, and get away from the disagreements or whatever. That's not good for anybody.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you. I'd actually invite any public comment on this at this point.
Marlene Groves, 33 300 Ridge Road. Again, I still love the library. I always will. I would echo what the commissioners said, and I think what Rick said, that the tension between library and county needs to fizzle down or go away. I can also tell you that I know Mr. Krennick, Alan. We have worked together.
Not dog related, is it?
Of course it is. I know him to be a hard worker. I know him to be a good volunteer. I can't speak. I know that Mr. Krennick also helped me with activities at the library. He's helped me with activities at the fair. They were dog related, but don't hold that against us. So I just thought, since I am somebody in the room that knows Alan, you would appreciate hearing that. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Oh, one last thing. The commissioners and the county are often faulted for not having a well-rounded board, as in, are all areas of the county represented? Things like that. I'm not certain that these 5 names represent all areas of the county. They seem to be a little Elizabeth focused. Maybe that isn't huge for the library, but it's maybe something to consider.
Thank you.
Just as a comment on your last comment there, that was one of the things when Danny, Chris, and I were elected, that we made sure that we had geographical diversity on the planning commission. And when we were elected, it was very concentrated into one geographical area also. But this is a large county, and there is differences between different portions of the county, and it's an interesting comment.
May I speak to that?
Certainly.
We're constrained to a large extent by who applies, and I have to say, it is true that I mean, I live out there that way, so there's some geographic diversity, but you can't, if we don't have people from the LF line, we can't. There's not much we can do about that. So
That's understood. All right.
Commissioner Richardson, may I make a comment?
Yes.
More so for Mr. Brown to take back to the prospective people. 3 of the candidates are election judges for us. Alan, Patty, and Jill are all election judges for us, and they do a fine job with us in the election department. But it's standard practice for us in the election area, if by chance the library board was to put an issue on the ballot, if they were sitting on the board, we wouldn't be able to use them as election judges. And we do that with fire boards and everything else, but that's just a standard practice that we do.
No, thanks for that point. That so is kind of interesting in the communities that there's a pool of people that do a lot of things. I mean, the ones that actually volunteer and give service tend to be involved in many things. So appreciate that. If there's no other comment, then I don't see any. We will move on.
An action item on the next.
Yeah,
meeting.
we'll take it for action on the next. So the next discussion item we have was the complete count committee resolution for the 2020 census.
Thank you, Commissioners. Eileen Krauth, Deputy County Manager. You have an item here that was included on your last agenda that was postponed. The Complete Count Committee, as you know, in 2020, the Constitution requires the federal government to conduct a census, and that census will happen on April 1st of 2020. And the Census Bureau has started working with local governments to make sure that every citizen of the county is counted. That count is important for the county because of the things that are based on that count, i.e. a lot of federal funding is based on population counts and certain aspects of the population. So that count is very important, and so the Bureau encourages the formation of complete count committees in local jurisdictions so that people who are familiar with the local community can make sure that every element of the county's population is counted. And so this resolution that you have in your packet, when you take that will be formed this year and then be disbanded sometime after the census is completed next year. And it looks for 6 members, so we will work between now and when it comes back for a vote in 2 weeks. We'll work with you to develop a list and probably bring back the actual appointments at our next meeting. You've got some material in your packet that outlines the importance of the census and answers some questions that citizens frequently have on the census. That's about it. After we get the committee appointed, we will have a kickoff meeting, and that committee will meet probably on a monthly or every other month basis on the run up to the actual census. That's kind of what I've got. Do you have any questions?
No, but perhaps another little task.
Yes, I will add it to my list.
Just if we could kind of have a draft bullet-pointed charter for that committee at the same time, just their scope, what their expected output is, just so generally gets things moving in the right direction faster if everybody's kind of starts with an understanding of what authorities they have or don't, what their end state goal really is. I think that just would be very useful.
Dustin Singer is our Census Bureau representative, and I will reach out to him and make sure that we have that prepared for our first meeting and include it in the materials that you get at your next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, so like I said, I think every area has kind of got their own unique issues. I know the schools over the last couple of years have been tracking, I guess, the category of homeless in terms of
that's correct, yeah.
Folks that are either living outside of their parents or foster control and others. And then just the rural nature of where we're at, and perhaps a few people that are living in RVs or other unpermitted areas that we'll need to
we had a good meeting probably a few weeks ago now with Dustin and Sam and a few other representatives of the county to kind of explore. They have some counties where language is a significant barrier. I don't necessarily think that that's an important consideration for Elbert County, and homelessness may not be as big a issue for Elbert County as it is for other areas. But we do have our own issues, and he had some guidance for us in terms of how you deal with the kind of transient people who are living here only temporarily, students and things like that. So he had some good guidance, and we'll share that with the committee.
Yeah, and I think it's fairly clear. I mean, we just want to count everybody. We're not trying to find people that are off the grid or outside of zoning compliance. I mean, I guess to me, one of the bigger ones we're going to see are folks in unaddressed housing units.
The definition of housing can be widely varied. Yes, absolutely. And there was a thought that just flew through my head, and now it's gone. So anyway, we'll catch up, and I'll finish we will have a conversation about those that get appointed at our next meeting, and hopefully get it kicked off mid-April.
Now this committee is completely separate from the actual census takers.
It is separate from the census takers, yes. This is intended to be a working committee of people with contacts and connections to diverse populations within the county, people in social services, in education, in the business community, who will do the job of making personal contacts to encourage people to participate in the census. In other words, posters and flyers and ads that the Census Bureau places are helpful, but they're not as effective as having a direct request from your neighbor or somebody that you trust to participate in the census. And so the intent of the committee is to create those connections and have those people go out and do that work with the support of staff and the Census Bureau staff. One of the things that's unique about this census is this is the first census, where there will be an online element to it. People will be able to, in the past, obviously somebody would come and knock on your door and ask you questions. And that may or may not be convenient for people who work or whose properties are remote, and their ability to participate online could really improve the turnout. However, there are often concerns about privacy and security with an online tool, and so making sure that people understand that it is a secure online tool is really important. And then also you bring up a good point that there will also be, and are already, some jobs available with the Census Bureau for the run-up to the 2020 census. We have some information on those jobs. There's some information available on the Census Bureau's website. They're part-time or full-time, some work at home, some out in the community, available for people who are interested. So I would encourage anybody who's interested in that kind of work to go to the Census Bureau website and apply for those, because again, the more people we have on the ground who are from the community and can make those personal contacts, the better.
Great. Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any public comment on this item? Or? Okay. Seeing none, the 811 update, 811
Commissioners, as we've already informed you, Rory Hill is out sick today, so Kyrie and I are going to give you the update on 811, which is the utility locate service. Earlier this year, they changed their process and procedures somewhat, which blew up the Colorado Association of Road Supervisors and Engineers, got them all worked up, and it ended up going to the Colorado Counties, Inc. Representatives all we have lots of dirt roads in Elbert County, and getting a timely response back on 1,200 miles of dirt roads, is that right, Kyrie? Plus. Yeah. So was extremely concerning, and we tried doing it the way they wanted, and it didn't work. So we started elevating it. We're at a point now where I think they've changed their process a little bit. We uploaded a map of all the dirt roads in the county, or all the roads in the county, I believe. Is that right, Kyrie? Yeah. To the
so cars that is very similar to Huft. We had to make a few modifications, but it gives the road name, to and from, and mileage on that. My understanding is what the utility companies will do is run that against their databases, and they will basically have marked what utilities are on what road, so that we do not have to call in every 3 months and get a locate on every single gravel road. We are still required, if we are doing major right-of-way work, shouldering, going into the ditch anyway, we'll still have to call in those locates, but just general day-to-day maintenance, the blade running down, they should be able to work against hours that is posted. They had us posted on the website, so all the utility companies can go and get to that at any time, as well as public can see those road segments as well. But we shouldn't have to call them every 3 months to do a locate on every single gravel road.
Yeah, because my understanding, we have to call all the Tier 2 providers individually.
That is correct. Yeah, and so CARS is kind of being the voice for all counties. And this is what they've negotiated and worked out with the utility companies to alleviate that for everyone.
And as I understand it, CDOT has got a waiver for themselves. But, yeah, so,
yes.
Yeah. So, but I appreciate it, because I think what came out was essentially you got to go mile. I mean, initially it was call mile by mile for anything you wanted to do with a grader. It pretty much halted
And we got confirmation from CARS last night that our submission was fine and our link is working fine. So as far as I know, we're all up to date with what we need to do for them.
Good.
So now it's manageable?
Yes, it certainly alleviates our calls into those locates.
Yeah. I mean, there was some question about plowing snow at one point, I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, as we dig these, you know, as you know, this material washes off the road surface and goes down into the ditch, and we go through and we put that material back on the roads as part of normal maintenance, and so it was going to be a mess, and I'm not sure where the Colorado 811 folks were thinking without having, you know, a significant increase in utility locate companies that were able to do that. It was a burden on every single county with a gravel road, and the road supervisors all spoke out.
Yeah, I saw, and it wasn't just little counties either.
Yeah. So we've taken additional step in-house as well. As you know, each member of Road and Bridge does a daily sheet, and that's the information we input to PubWorks. Yeah. We've created a new task item specifically for locates. Okay. So when one of our graders hits cable that's only a ½ inch buried, indicating that the utility company did not install it right, we've got a task code for that, so we can track how long our blades are down due to negligence on their part. Just in case it comes back and we need that information, we're trying to be very precise on how much that puts us down when we have a locate problem that wasn't caused by us.
Okay, and they still have a 3-day response time when we're actually doing an excavation of some sort?
I don't know what the official language is on that, but we're trying to do our due diligence to track that as well as we can.
Yeah, so like I said again, when it first came out, I know rarely did we get the 3-day response. We were for big excavations, and
right.
It was kind of
it is
10 days to do 1,200 miles
with locates.
was kind of, yeah.
It is.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, we're moving to action items. The first item we have to consider is approval of the March 13, 2019 minutes. I'll accept a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the March 13th minutes as presented.
And dispense with the reading of them?
Yes, and dispense of the reading of the minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes and dispense with the reading. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we as presented and dispense with the reading of those minutes.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. I did fail to ask if there was any public comment on the minutes from the March 13 or on these minutes. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Board planning. So I know we've definitely got action on the library board nominees for the next meeting. Okay, IT project. Okay.
And the Metro Waste District issue.
Oh, yes, please, yes. Metro Waste.
We also had notification there'd be our Road and Bridge slideshow.
Yes, okay. All right. Okay, well, that gives us a good start. I'm sure minutes from this meeting. Yeah. Anything else that you can?
I don't have anything else.
I don't either.
Yeah, and I guess just kind of update. Well, and we'll have, I'm assuming, an appropriation from 2018 for. Okay.
And for discussion, you might consider bringing people up to date in the RFP for the facility study. some ongoing legal actions pursuant to Section 24-6-402, paren 4, paren B of the Colorado Revised Statutes. Specifically, I do move that the Board of County Commissioners go into executive session to discuss this topic.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Folks are welcome to stay here. We'll retire to another office. Again, we don't plan to come back and take any action. We'll just be moving on to land use hearings at 1, so you can stay and watch that. Or if you've got other things to do today, I invite you to get a start on your day.